Hello and welcome to another episode of Awakened Unfiltered. I'm your host, Erica Barretto, and I have a very special guest today, and I'm so excited to introduce you all to Jaclyn. And I just want to tell you that I found Jaclyn. First of all, we follow each other on social media, but her content really pulls to me, especially with the topics and things that she talks about. And it's such a treat to have her here today. And I think you guys are going to learn so much from her as well as myself. So I'm just going to have her introduce herself, about her work, what she does. And yeah, we're going to go from there.
Hi guys. As Erica, well, number one, Erica, thank you for having me here. I am so grateful to be here and support your audience in any way that I can. So my name is Jaclyn, but everyone calls me Jack. And I am a life purpose and visibility advisor for women. I'm also a psychic medium, Reiki master, and tarot reader. So essentially, the foundation of what I do is I help women embrace their most authentic self in their life, in their businesses, in their relationships, and in the most public way possible, in the most unapologetic way possible.
Just want to reiterate because her content really pulled to me as far as that aspect of authenticity, putting yourself out there, starting from the ground up, right? These are conversations that we're going to have today. And I think that some of them may be hard topics for somebody who's listening in today, and maybe you're in it right now and you're trying to figure out, how do I take that next step? What is it that I have to do for myself? And maybe you're just somebody who is afraid to show up. I'll just say it because we were having a conversation before that, even though, yes, I have a social media following, yes, I put myself out there, and I do because I like to be uncomfortable. That's how I grow, and I definitely throw myself out there, but it's still uncomfortable. And I
Mhm.
still have issues with being seen, believe it or not. We'll talk about astrology because Jack believes in astrology and how that plays into our life. And I'm a Leo rising. So that for me should tell you everything, where I don't like to be seen, but it just happens. I don't call for it. I just put myself out there and whatever happens, happens. But I want Jaclyn to talk about her program, and I think that it's something that pulled me in, so I might be taking it. But it is a program that she has. It is called Safe to Be Seen. So, Jaclyn, could you talk about this and exactly what pulled you to do this, and what could this do for somebody who is really having that challenge right now in their life?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Safe to Be Seen was born from my own personal authenticity journey. Just to give a little background of me, I was raised in New Jersey in a Norwegian Italian family, Roman Catholic, but born a psychic medium. So, you can kind of see the issue with that. So, and I have a history of abuse and growing up in a really chaotic environment with my parents and bullying and all of that fun stuff. So essentially, my entire life, I felt like I had to hide who I was because of fear of judgment, fear of abandonment, being rejected. And when my business started, it wasn't based on helping women embrace their most authentic self. It was literally just helping them find clarity from spirit through tarot readings, through astrology, and then energy healing through Reiki. And the Safe to Be Seen program really is a culmination of everything that I've learned on my healing journey, as well as working with thousands of women literally in their journey to embrace their most authentic self, to find their voice in every area of life, but in particular in their relationships. Now that's family, friend, romantic partners, and their business directions, right? Whether they're working for themselves or someone else. It is extremely difficult, and it is a constant being comfortable with being uncomfortable journey in vocalizing your creativity, your creations, vocalizing your feelings, your thoughts, who you are genuinely at your core. Because so many of us are taught that we need to be responsible for other people's feelings, other people's well-being. We're taught to give to others before we take care of ourselves. So the Safe to Be Seen program really has a lot of trauma work at the foundation to dissolve that fear of being seen, the fear of judgment, the fear of rejection and abandonment, and then helping you understand through astrology, through energy healing, through nervous system practices, what your authenticity blueprint is and how that is meant to be expressed through your life, your business, your relationships.
That's a lot to unpack, but it's layered. It's
Yeah.
layered, and it's safe to say that it doesn't happen all at once. It takes steps. And I would think that for you, obviously teaching, I mean, I think most spiritual practitioners are teaching through experience. And for you, you spoke about your authenticity and just really how that was something you had to open up to and just really explore for yourself and what that meant for you. Could you share a little bit on how that started for you? Like, where was it in your life that you pinpointed this area where you said to yourself, you know what, Jack, what is it about me that I need to do in order to step into that most authentic version of myself? Like, was there something that kind of catapulted you into that thought process, that perspective? And I'm sure like anybody else, we go through our emotions, right? And
Mhm.
it's like a tower moment is usually what I
Mhm.
say. But I mean, I never look at a tower moment as a bad thing because it's always about reconstructing what needs to be looked at in order for us to step into that new version, that new chapter. So would
Mhm.
you be able to share that moment where you had that epiphany where you were like, you know what, I can't do this no more. I can't be like this. What was it for you?
Yeah. So it was, I think looking back, it was a progression. So I have my Chiron in my seventh house, which is the greatest wound that you come here to heal as a soul in your human life. And the seventh house are your like major relationships and all of there's other aspects to it, but for this particular focus. So I've learned a lot on my authenticity journey through my major relationships. Not spiritually related. In my first major relationship with my ex-boyfriend that I was with for 6 years, I had gotten my master's degree during that time. I had become a professional bodybuilder at that time, and he absolutely hated that I was that visible on stage competing and doing all of that, and also that I wasn't ready to settle down and have a family. I had just finished my master's, I had just started my career in my desired field at the time. And I really was focused on doing what was right for me. And we ended up breaking up because of those reasons, because we could never just get on the same page about what we wanted together. Um, Fast forward, I'm in another relationship, I get engaged, and just and during that relationship, my ex fiance was so fixated on presenting himself perfectly, like this idealized version that he thought people wanted to see him as. And it made me reflect and say, I'm doing this too, and I don't want to do that. And that was around the same time I started exploring tarot and crystals and energy healing, but very quietly behind the scenes. I would only talk to very trusted friends about it, and friends that were interested in it as well, because I was still battling that religious side of myself. Like I said, I was raised Roman Catholic. I went through confirmation, and then I identified as Christian for a long time. And I just didn't know where I sat. And I was very scared to kind of go outside the bounds of religion, but still did it privately for probably like a year or two. And then I started my own business. I became an entrepreneur in the holistic nutrition field, left corporate life and have not gone back since. I'm very happy about that. But I just felt like something was missing in that business. A lot of the women that I was working with, there was a lot of trauma. There was a lot of emotional healing that needed to be done. And I started incorporating more self care practices, meditative practices, journaling, stuff like that. And I just felt like something was missing and there was something deeper there, another element I needed to bring in. And I kept getting the message from the divine, like, it's your spirituality, like you're a medium, it's a healing gift, you need to bring this in. You're learning tarot, it's a healing, a divination tool, bring it in. And I'm like, oh my God, like, my Christian like conditioning, like don't do that. It's evil. It's bad. So I took a year off in 2020 and just went on like I guess a spiritual like pilgrimage. Like I traveled, I took a road trip for a month by myself across the country, from Jersey to Sedona, Arizona and back. I just did a lot of soul searching that entire year. And that's actually when the Holistic Siren, my current business and brand, was born. And that was born from also being in an engagement that felt so unaligned, especially toward the end, because my fiance thought I was just swindling people, like, oh, you're a psychic now, like, because I wasn't open with him along the journey about my mediumship and all of that, because I was still exploring it myself, but also had a very deep fear of being seen, deep fear of judgment, of being different. And ultimately that relationship ended. And it's almost like, and I chose to end that relationship. It was almost like ending that relationship was my permission slip to be my most authentic self in her entirety. And yes, it was a tower moment. I found out he was cheating on me for a year. It was like a whole big thing. My whole life blew up in my face. But consequently, it brought me into, a beautiful condo. It expanded my business. It opened my energy up more, which was beautiful, if you look at it from a deeper sense. But on the top layer, on the surface layer, you're like, oh my gosh, like my whole life just blew up in my face. But I would say that would have been the catalyst, that breakup with my fiance. But if I'm being honest with myself, it was probably like a 10-year micro progression up until that catalytic point, if that makes sense.
No, that makes so much sense. And that's why I kind of look at things and it happens in layers.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, it just kind of happens. Everything just happens all at once and it can feel like so much. And I think, especially somebody that's on their spiritual journey, they will shy away from it because everything can get so heavy at one moment. And I mean, we could talk about that. Well, people will, coming and deconstructing the religious side, you might just jump back into that because that feels safer. That's what you know. But when you jump into the unknown and you don't know where it's taking you, it is scary as hell. And again, it's safer to jump back into the familiarity of what you have grown up with. And it takes a really strong person through mindset, perspective, and just really understanding your truth and yourself to do that. So I can't even imagine how hard that has been for you, with relationships and just going through it at those moments and times. My Chiron is in my 11th house in Gemini of talking. So could you imagine every time I talk, this is healing for me. This podcast
Mm-hmm.
is healing, connecting, community, bringing people together with real things that people go through. And
Mm-hmm.
this is one of those things. This is just one of those areas that I find a lot of my students go through with the imposter syndrome and showing up and putting themselves out there and believing in themselves enough, even when you have people that are projecting onto you and you have people that are telling you what you're doing is fake, right? And telling you that you're a grifter or, whatever it is, you're going to have that. And I think it's up to us to really just believe in ourselves that much more to just continue to push through. And it is an individual journey for each of us. Even if we have our relationships, our families, it really is an individual journey and it could be a very difficult one. I find when you choose the difficult road,
Mm-hmm.
things open up so much more faster versus being comfortable and taking it easy
Mm-hmm.
because it will take longer. And I think emotionally, it will be a lot more difficult on yourself because you're not fulfilling your role of being as authentic as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, yeah, that vulnerability and sharing those parts of ourselves. But what you do is just so important. And that's why I think I was just so drawn to your page. And plus you do like tarot readings, which I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely love. Like I'm not pulled to everyone,
Yep.
but
And
there
you should not be. Discernment.
no, yeah, and there's just individuals I'm like, "Nah," but you really do touch on a space because you do incorporate that healing and you really get to the point of, "Okay, this is what the problem is. This is what we can do to fix it." it's up to you now to take it into your hands and do what you have to do with it. So I really love that about your page. So if you're into tarot readers and you love that stuff, please, we're going to put all her links and everything in the bio so that you can follow Jack and find her page. It's so helpful. I love it. I think you will love it. But I wanted to talk about boundary work and how this really comes into your practice. And I just want to ask you, based on boundary work, and I'm just going to talk from my experience and how that's been for me, it's always changed. But I always feel like the boundary work is always going to evolve around particular triggers, emotional triggers that we have in our lives. And it shapes very differently in our relationships, even with ourselves. Like sometimes we have to create boundaries for ourselves. No, we're not going to do this. I'm not going to scroll on social media for an
Mhm.
hour and waste time. So it's so many different things. How would you say, like with the boundary work, that has been for you, or maybe even how you've seen that across like working with people, just as the experience of how that evolves within somebody's journey?
Mhm. So, boundary work is it's daily, right? It is a commitment to choose yourself over prioritizing other people's feelings, right? And it's very normal for boundary work to feel triggering. I feel there's a very common misconception, especially in like new age, where boundary work is always meant to feel empowering. And if it triggers you, you should shy away from it. It's actually the opposite. If it triggers you, that's an opportunity for you to elevate, to raise your vibration. It's not always going to feel comfortable, which kind of circles back to what I said earlier, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's pushing through that discomfort. So, boundary work, for example, so currently I'm actually going through relationship stuff. I am currently separated from my husband. And a boundary I had set was that we were going to live separately. Now, we are currently communicating, working through some things. However, there are very strict boundaries around how much time we spend together, when we go to couples counseling, and then, of course, like the living separately and things that are communicated between us. Now, is that very difficult for me? Not as much as it was in the beginning of our separation a couple months ago. In the beginning, all I wanted to do was like hug him, hold him, and be like, "Are you okay?" Even though I was the one who chose the separation because I felt like I didn't matter in my marriage. I felt very unseen. I felt like I didn't even exist. But I still wanted to jump in and like take care of him because he was hurting because of my decision. So a boundary I had to hold with myself was to stop myself from texting him every morning and every night, calling him every morning, every night to check in. Are you okay? How are you feeling today? Because I'm a very nurturing individual naturally, but I had to learn that I had to nurture myself, take care of myself, not take care of him. And that plays out in my friendships, my family dynamics, all relationship dynamics. It spills over in my business as well. Like I was a huge overgiver in my business. I would have a program outline and then I would over deliver. I'd give a bunch of extras because I just felt like I was operating from a place of not being good enough. So my boundary work centers around I always need to make sure that my boundaries and my choices are constantly reestablishing the story of I am enough, I am good enough, I am worthy, because that is one of my core wounds, if that makes sense. So, yeah, so boundary work, working with clients is the most important and foundational thing is identifying what that core foundational wound is because that's where those trigger points are going to branch out from when you're setting boundaries and when you may or may not cross them or violate them.
No, I'm like, see me taking notes, right?
Yeah, take notes.
So, not good enough is definitely one of my wounds. And
Mhm.
I do sometimes find myself overdoing things. And I have just come to that realization yesterday. I was just like, man, but a part of me throughout the day, I was really having that experience of where do I overgive? And then the appreciation, like what happens, right? But I've learned not to receive validation outside of myself And that has been something that has just been a journey overall, because it does tie to that wound of worthiness, not being good enough and receiving that validation. So that was a boundary that I created, that anytime I felt like I wanted to check in with somebody to say, what do you think about this? Or how does this look? Or, yeah, it's okay to do that with, like, I do that with my sister, but that's my sister, a very close friend I'll do that with. But I would once upon a time would find myself sharing everything with everyone. And what do you think about this? Oh my God, do you think it's going to do this? And I put a stop to that. I said, no, I don't need to do that, because I don't need the validation outside of myself to let me know that what I'm doing is okay and that makes me worthy. But again, it will leak. And no matter how much work, oh my gosh, no matter how much work I do on this, it shows up. And you're so right, because it shows up everywhere. It just doesn't
Mhm.
show up, just within myself. It'll show up with myself. It'll show up with how I mother my kids, how I am as a wife, how I am as a mentor for others. But I always want to lead by example. So I really work hard on those boundaries and how I present myself to the world, so to say. But yeah, it shows up in so many different areas, and I have become aware of it. Like that awareness of, oh, okay, there it goes, me kind of questioning my worth. Am I worthy? It could be so horrible though, because there's so many realizations that show up at that moment, and it could be painful. It's so painful, I think, while you are going through it, because there's a lot of reality checks, I think. And I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm a firm believer that these things will constantly be a part of our story. Like, it's like there's always that word that'll show up in our book, and whether we have different books and different versions, it's always going to show up, but it'll show up so differently. And it has for me. Have you felt like, I know that you're a psychic medium, and I
Mhm.
know for me personally, as a psychic medium, the work gets that much more deeper,
Mhm.
because we are here to help others. We're here to guide them, especially with the healing. So I feel like spirit will present certain things within our lives, like themes that will show up, whether it's us doing readings for other people or just kind of sitting with ourselves, that will pop up to almost test that boundary, to
Mhm.
almost say, did you really work on that? Well, guess what? I'm going to give it to you this way. So, like, for me and what I felt with my students, and I'm like in the midst of kind of shifting how I teach and how I present different things, because it is that deep, the core work that it takes to be a medium or spiritual healer, whatever modality you pick. It all starts with ourselves. It all starts with us doing the healing work in order for us to be able to be that person that people can kind of come to us and ask us these questions to help them on their journeys. But it's like, again, it's like it's deeper. So yeah, I'm kind of like, I guess, where you were at, where you were like, well, bringing this into the work, but how else can we help the people that we are serving? And
Yeah.
and I feel like I forgot even the question I was asking. I feel like I kind of went off on a
I
tangent.
think I think I think I've got it. So um I like to call this the the spiritual version of paying it forward. Okay? So here is, and this how I discerned this was from work, my own personal work on myself, but also again working with a lot of women on this particular issue. Number 1, you have a tower moment, some sort of challenge in life that cracks you open, that shows you patterns that, or belief systems that are not conducive to your healing journey. So you take a look at them, and that's your opportunity as an individual. The divine is saying, hey, these are the lessons you're meant to integrate, or this is the wound that you came here, you chose to heal. So let's take a look and let's heal through it. Okay. So you go through that catalytic event, that tower moment. Okay. And then you go through your healing process, and then you identify, oh, okay, so this is the core wound that I have that I'm healing through. And then maybe you navigate or find some healing modalities that you're interested in, and it could be holistic healing, spiritual healing, whatever it is for the individual. And then you open up to healing abilities, right? Because when you raise your vibration, when you heal a wound at a certain level, it actually opens up your healing abilities, because your healing abilities sit at a higher vibration, right? And then you start to ask the question, oh, Well, I've healed through this. I know my story, your story could be your healing ability. It doesn't have to be like your psychic medium or a channel or anything. Compassion, kindness could be a healing ability, right? So you open up to the healing ability and you ask the question, well, I feel like there's a deeper meaning to this. Like I'm meant to help others heal through this, right? And that's where you get into, being of service. Now, that could be in a business or it could just be you want to help people, right? You don't have to make money to like being of service. Like the divine doesn't give a crap about money, right? So that's what I mean by spiritually paying it forward. You take your wound, your healing, your gifts, and then you pay it forward by helping others heal through the same wound, not the same challenges, right? It doesn't be the same challenge, but the same core wound that your soul came here with. Does that make sense? And it's
Yeah.
always, it's always a progression. So it's not a test because I feel like a lot of people can take test with a negative connotation. It's an opportunity for elevation, for expansion, right? That's why my membership is called the expansion room. You're expanding into that higher level, that higher vibrational version of yourself, that more authentic version of yourself. And there's like a famous quote there, there is no destination, so appreciate the journey, or something along those lines. It's always a journey of learning, of spiritual education, of expansion as a soul. So you're never going to get to like that ending of like, for example, healing the self-worth wound. It does get easier because your perception changes, right? The depth of the integration of the lesson changes. So the more that you accept and integrate the lesson, the better your self-awareness becomes. And you're like, ooh, opportunity for learning here, teachable moment to heal this self-worth more deeply. But I'm not going to take it as hard because I'm aware of what's happening now because I see the pattern faster. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does 100% because, and I'm smiling like from ear to ear. So for those that are you listening, you can't see it, but if you're watching, you can see it because I literally feel like you're like channeling without you even knowing. Because I kid you not, you literally said verbatim a card that I pulled for myself earlier this morning, and it talked about how paying it forward, where we take what we have learned, we integrate it, but we pay it forward. We help others with that particular area in which we have just grown or just got a better awareness. And I'm a firm believer in that. And when it comes to that aspect of healing, yeah, there's a balance there for me. And it's not about money for me. Like I'll just go live, I'll do readings, I'll just help answer questions. And that makes me feel good. But I'm just, again, dealing with going live, getting seen. And that whole thing is just like a whole unpacking there for me.
Mhm.
But it's interesting how spirit works because they're just like working through you right now, which is quite interesting.
Oh,
But
girl, I'm channeling all the friggin' time. It's
yeah, I'm
insane.
like, do you realize you're channeling right now? And I'm just smiling and I'm giggling because I kid you not, like I have been reading this book, and yesterday I was just like, what in the hell? I was like, Spirit, like what is going on? I need you to help me because I am literally feeling like I have no idea what's next, what's going on. And I know I'm not supposed to know what's next. I don't think we ever are. We just kind of have to allow that unfolding, and
Mhm.
that could be difficult, especially when you're in this space of releasing control, surrender, and just really allowing things to unfold when there's a sense of security and stability. For me, I'm a Taurus moon. It's in my 10th house, but it's opposing Pluto, which is like, oh, you want to be comfortable? Guess not. You're not going to be comfortable. We need you to
Um,
get uncomfortable every 4 to 6 months. You're
yeah.
never going to be comfortable. So and I love that you incorporate astrology, which is where I
Mhm.
feel like this conversation is leading to next, and
Yeah.
how that can help us, right? It's like a soul, I feel like it guides us. It's like a cheat sheet for this life, this human experience to kind of help us navigate specific areas of our life in which we can see, okay, what's going on here. And I am a firm believer in astrology. I think it's one of the things that has helped me
Mhm.
understand myself that much more. Like
Mhm.
I've taken classes just for myself, not to like kind of put it out there like as far as a service or anything, but I do it for myself. I like to read other people's charts, like my family, and the transits. And I feel like it really does play a big role with our life themes. And, there's a lot of things that are going on right now within the astrology community, but there's so many different things, different transits, especially this month. There's like that barbell basket. I feel like I've been seeing that a lot. And that is almost like a catapult into something within humanity. And I feel like it's on a world level type of situation, especially with that astrologer. But
Yeah.
anywho, just circling back, astrology for you, how has that been for you? Has that really been something that you have found helpful in your life's journey when you have been going through these ups and downs? Like, has it really helped you to see like what you needed to work on, what's next? How has that been for you?
Yeah. So I like to call a natal chart a spiritual diagnostic tool because it helps understand not just the core of who you are, but the core of your experience as you navigate your life, every season of life. So for me, I'm an Aries sun moon Sag rising. Hi guys. Lots of fire in my chart. Uh, but it's in the beginning, it actually became a hindrance to my journey because I would hyperfixate on the transits, on, collective readings on YouTube and TikTok and all the external stuff, like the transits that would affect the collective, not just me. And it would stress me out way too much. So when I made it a very personal diagnostic tool, a personal blueprint to help me navigate my life, and I shut out like collectively what was going on, it became way more helpful. Also, in the beginning, I was way too reliant on watching other astrologers. And there are so many different ways to interpret astrology. There's different types of astrology. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm not going to even jump into that. But finding the type of astrology that works for you, that you feel aligned with, that's easy for you to understand. I personally think if you're a beginner or you just want something that's cut and dry, full sign is my favorite to work with. But my journey with astrology, again, when I made it just a personal diagnostic tool, a personal blueprint to help me navigate my own life, it was way more helpful. And also me learning how to read astrology myself. So that's a big part of the Safe to Be Seen program as well. I'm not just like feeding my students information. I'm literally teaching them how to read their chart. So when they leave and they're done with the program, I don't want them to need me. Like in my programming, any of my programs, it doesn't matter what it is, a class, course, one-on-one program. When my clients leave, they are 100% confident they can navigate that particular area of life or issue on their own. Can they circle back to me sometimes? Absolutely. Like the door is never closed, but I want them to feel 100% confident in their ability to navigate their own life intuitively. And what's interesting too is astrology has become just a tool to confirm what my intuition already tells me. So, like, I talk to my spirit guides every day throughout the day. They are always guiding me because that's their whole entire job, right? Is to keep me in alignment with my most authentic path. So, when I look at my astrology and the transits and all of that fun stuff, I'm looking at my journal. I'm like, oh, you guys already told me about this. So, so that's why also in the Safe to Be Seen program, there's a lot of intuitive development work as well, because it's just the astrology, when you know how to read it, is just reinforcing, hey, like I can trust myself because I was already picking up on this. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I love that's exactly how I use it as a tool for myself. Because I did find, like you, when I was kind of worrying about whatever was going on in the world, it would be difficult to kind of understand. I actually felt like I was going crazy. I found it to be a super tool when it came to like my Chiron. I'm like, okay, let's learn about Chiron. Where does this wound, live, and how can I help myself be better at that area of my life? And for me, again, it's Gemini. It's about speaking. It's about vulnerability. It's about building community and just being myself. And I feel like that authenticity work is it's just a constant thing. It's a constant thing, especially like now with all the transit. So I love that you call it a diagnostic tool. Is that what you
Yeah.
said?
Mhm.
Because that's exactly really how it is. And
Mhm.
intuitively, like I feel like I also read things very intuitively and I experience it. And I too have a journal that I write with my guides, and I'm just like, okay, well, this is what I'm feeling right now. And then when I look, it's exactly what's happening. There's this whole thing around identity, authenticity, being more myself. And then I'm like, but am I too much? Am I too much? Because again, that leads to that core wound of not being good enough. And, being told as a child, you're too much, be quiet, you're annoying. Leo rising, I have a question about everything. Like, hey, why is the sky blue? And how come plants grow this way? Like, I had so many
Yes.
questions. I was just so annoying, but not annoying. I'm just inquisitive.
Yeah.
But it's who I am. I don't, and I've learned to be okay with that. And if it is too much for people, then guess what? You're not my people. That's that.
Exactly.
So I feel like that's just an area that I have healed throughout, but it's a constant thing. And people are always going through that. And I really love the work that you're putting out there for others to be that version of themselves that is true to them and living unapologetically. And I hear you say that all the time, like, be who the fuck you are. Who cares what anybody thinks? Be that girl. Be that girl. And
Mhm.
I love that because it inspires. And because you're all fire, it makes sense because you're pushing. You're like, you can do this too. You can be a baddie, right? You are the baddie. Like, you are that girl. And I love that you do that because it ignites me. It helps me. Sometimes we underestimate the impact that we have, especially with a voice on social media and just how many people you truly help. I know every time your videos have come across my feed, it came exactly what it needed to. I was like, heart, heart, heart. Definitely needed that. And that's how spirit works, especially through
Mhm.
social media. At least for me, that's how I've seen, because I'm not much of a scroller.
Mhm.
So whenever things just kind of pop up, I'm like, oh, that was meant for me. Let me listen.
Yeah.
So, that not
It helps that I have my Mercury in Aries as well. So I am very unafraid speaking my mind and things that I channel very quickly because Mercury is how you speak intuitive messages as well, like your intuitive communication style. So I receive, because my moon is in Aries as well, my intuitive hits, my channeling is very fast, and my Mercury is in Aries as well. So as soon as I get the message, it has to come out, or else it's just whoop, it's gone.
Meanwhile, I'm a Capricorn and I'm like, okay, this is how we have to do this. This is how this works. This is how we're going to get it done. I'm strategic.
Mhm.
Astrology is so real. So, for those of you who don't believe it, I don't know what to tell you. It is so real and it really will help you look at certain areas of your chart to say, okay, this is where my strength is. This is where I need
Yeah.
to help myself a little bit more.
Can I just give two quick placements for those of your listeners that are wanting to align with their authentic self? To keep it simple, is that okay?
Yes, please.
So, because we're on the topic and I don't want to forget and probably channeling and need to get it out quickly, right? So, your North Node is going to be your most authentic self. Okay. It is who your soul came here to embody, the characteristics, the strengths, the path. Okay. Your South Node, which gets a bad rap, your South Node is a culmination of everything that you've learned throughout your past lives. So it can be like your bad habits, but it can also be your greatest strengths, like things that you're already good at that you don't need to continue to develop. But we can tend to hyperfixate on those characteristics in the South Node because it's like our spiritual comfort zone, right? Because we've lived so many past lives in that energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the
Good.
North Node is meant, yeah. So the North Node is who you are meant to become, the person you're meant to embody, but it typically is the most difficult to attain,
Oh,
to
yeah.
sit in, to remain as throughout your life. So that's why we're presented with those consistent teachable moments for those like core wounds that we have, because throughout this life we are consistently learning how to detach from the South Node, the past life, and embody the North Node, the authentic self, the present life, not the future, the present, because there only is the present.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That definitely boop, a little light bulb went up off, especially when
Yeah.
you said we tend to obsess that south node. Like we will get stuck in that. And just to share, my South Node is in Scorpio, in the fourth house with Saturn and Pluto, which has been like that's what makes my chart Pluto dominant. So it's that
Yes.
constant death and rebirth, right? And but that part of my life is private, right? Like I don't like sharing that, but because of that, I also have trust issues.
Mhm.
So I don't like to open myself up, and I'm very weary with my discernment of who I open myself up to. But my North Node, whoop, is in my 10th house in Taurus with my moon, which is also like, we don't want to be vulnerable. We want to be safe, which
Mhm.
is kind of like going back and forth. It's like, I feel like that's the Sagittarius in me that's like bow and arrow, shoot it. We just got to kind of, it's my sun. I'm a Sagittarius sun. So it's like, what do we do? Right. So yeah, that kind of helped me like piece something together there for myself. Cause I think the North Node in Taurus in the 10th house is you're meant to be seen. You're meant to
Yeah.
put yourself out there in a grounded way, of course. That's the Taurus, the earth sign. But yeah, I do. I understand my chart. And that just kind of made me think, am I just being a little bit too private? Should I not be that private and share my vulnerability?
Yeah. Your business, I guarantee it, your business will expand tremendously. You will leave such a legacy, my love, if you trust the community you've built through your business and you share your story.
Gosh. Yeah.
Stop being South Node Scorpio, stop being so goddamn private.
I
Open up.
know. I
And
am.
Taurus, it's consistency. You're going to create a lot of legacy, financial stability, but also you're creating stability for others through you opening up and sharing and trusting that sharing your story is going to expand your business, your legacy. That's what you're meant to be known for, is being open,
I
not
know, not being closed. And that just, I swear, listen, whoever is listening in, I need you to understand that every single one of these episodes has been so healing for me in every single way with whoever comes on this podcast. I feel like it is a divine thing when I'm being guided to ask. And I always hope, and I'm like, please, please show up because I'm being guided to, so I'm always so grateful when I get a yes. So again, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for coming on and just sharing everything that you have shared here today because it really has been helpful for me. It's been healing every single episode. And this one, I think if I could put like a favorite and a star, that's something for me. Like, I just feel like it's been something that I think a lot of people just struggle with. And I mean, it's real shit, right? This is real life. Like, yes, we're spiritual, but we also have our human dynamic and things that we experience. And it is the integration and how we learn from those experiences. And again, some are more difficult than others, but I think that what you are providing for the collective as far as helping people learn how to take in that authenticity, learn how to be seen, stand your truth, speak loud. And I always say, of course, with no harm to none,
yeah.
we're here to help. We're here to just be the best versions of ourselves. And I love that you do that and you really put that message out there for everyone. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for you and I'm grateful for this connection because I always feel like there's reasons beyond I guess what is presented in front of us. That's the
Mhm.
focus in me and my Sagittarius. I'm like, what's the bigger lesson here?
A Sag rising girl, you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I'm like, it's a fifth house stellium for me. So I'm always like, oh, yay. What's the next adventure? What can we create? So I'm just like, it's like a nomad area for me. But is there anything else you would like to add here that you would find helpful for anybody that's listening here today?
Yeah. Whenever I am doing work with a client, especially in Safe to Be Seen, which is my group program, or my Authentic Self Integration, which is my one on one program, I have, when you are establishing and trying to understand who your authentic self is, because you're having to dig beneath a lot of old conditioning, trauma, the overgiving, the people pleasing, the seeking external validation. A lot of times, especially as women, we lose ourselves, right? In our careers, in our roles as friends, daughters, mothers, in our relationship dynamics. So, understanding your core values is so so important, and that's why looking at your north node is very helpful in that. But even just sitting down and writing what your 3 to 4 core values or core pillars are that create a stable peaceful life for you, and building your life and your choices off of those pillars. And that's what's going to help with staying consistent with boundary setting and staying consistent in building a life that God gave you to build here in this human life. It's very, very helpful to help keep you on track and accountable. I find um, a lot of clients come to me and they're like, well, I have this information like from my astrology chart and all of that. Or like I was successful here and I raised my kids and I'm married and I did all the things I thought I was supposed to do. I went to school and I don't know why I'm not happy. And I'm like, well, it's because you didn't build your life off of your authentic core pillars. So that would be like the most foundational piece of advice I could give if you want to use astrology. Of course, like your north node, the house, and the sign that it's in are going to be most helpful, but also that you deserve to be heard, you deserve to be seen, you deserve to have your needs met. But that always starts with you holding yourself accountable to you taking care of your needs first and not overriding that to take care of someone else.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I feel like when we step into that space of just caring for everybody else before we care for ourselves, I know for myself, I get into burnout mode. I'm a
Mhm.
sixth house stellium in Capricorn. So it's constantly pushing, pushing, pushing until I can't no more. And
Mhm.
I'm always going through that. I'm like, how do I get to this space where I don't burn out, but I can still consistently give? And I feel like for me, it's been with help, right? Building my community and getting the help, which is also testing my little Scorpio house of trust issues in the fourth
Yeah.
house. So I'm like, I know I'm supposed to, if the help is, if it's put out there, and I get it all the time. Like I have some amazing people in my life, and they will always step up and say, hey, if you need help, I'm here. Like, please, and I'm just like, ooh, there's the little girl in me that's like, do I really need help? Because every time I ask for
Mhm.
help, people would just shit on me, but it's not like that anymore. So that was an old story I used to tell myself. And now it's just like, no, I can open up my heart to people because not
Mhm.
everybody is the same way. So those are things that, again, those themes that constantly come back and play and just it helps me grow. Now I'm going to use that word. It's not a test, it's an opportunity to grow, which I freaking love, by the
Mhm.
way. So, any of you out there that think that you're going through tests and spirit's putting you through a test, change that word around. Use
Mhm.
opportunity, because I think that's so much more of a better word where it
Yeah.
doesn't have that negative connotation, like you said, and we can give it more meaning where we can help ourselves, but in a transformational way that's not like putting shame or guilt on you for that. So I freaking love that you said that. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
Um, just one question before we
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
How I always like to leave something like a thought piece for everyone.
Mhm.
So, with everything that you have went through, with your life's experience, where you are at now, and it feels like you have been somebody that has constantly had to start over and over and over. How would you help somebody that is going through that right now and is going through that identity crisis, or they're trying to figure out, like, how do I be my most authentic self? Where do I even start? How would you help that person that could be listening in or watching this today?
Mhm. Oh, step one, spend time alone. You've got to quiet the noise. If you can, like for a couple minutes a day, shut your phone off or at least silence it for a little bit and sit with yourself, because that is the quickest way you are going to gain clarity on anything in your life. We're surrounded by so much noise, other people's opinions, and the external validation seeking is a huge pattern that I've seen literally with every single person that I've worked with. And the only way that you shut out external validation, and that could be friends, family, romantic partners, it could be social media, it could be TV, anything, right? Is to sit with yourself. I love divination tools. I'm a big oracle and obviously tarot reader and user. Pick one oracle card every morning and get a daily message to connect with yourself, connect with your guides, because your spirit guides, their whole job is literally just to care about you and help you navigate your life. And feeling like you're not alone, that you always have that team that's backing you up constantly, is such a reassuring feeling. So, a lot of clients, when they're going through identity transformation, the quintessential sentence is, Jack, I feel so alone. And I'm like, the healing part of that is actually spending time with yourself and your spirit guides. And I guarantee you will not feel alone. I'm not saying to isolate, just have some dedicated time, whether it's in the morning or at night, whichever works better for you, to dedicate that time to yourself. It's so important.
Yeah, I found myself doing that for the last like 3 days, just complete silence. I'm sitting in my yard on my swing and I'm just like, Spirit, help me. Help me
Mhm.
see through whatever it is that I am needing some clarity on. And it's been coming. It's been coming. And I'll get the little synchronicities 11, 11, 12, 12, 10, 10. Like we're watching, we're here. So, yeah, they do help us. And they really are a part of our journey to guide us and teach us and just open us up to what it is that we're not seeing. So I love that you share that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Uh,
Mhm.
there's one other thing, that it's a collection of spirit guides coming in. And I say this to clients a lot. Always ask yourself when you are making a decision, especially with regard to making life changes and you're going through this identity transformation. Ask yourself, am I making this decision from doing the right thing or the real thing? The right thing is that place of conditioning, that past conditioning. The real thing is the authentic. So, what I have found helpful and an activity I actually give to clients to do is ask the question, like, what's the decision you're having to make or the crossroads you're at, and write the right thing, the real thing. Because then you'll see what the conditioning is telling you to do, and then you'll see what the authentic self is telling you to do. And then you already have your answer. You don't need to seek it outside of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's great. Great information. I love that. I tend to do the oracle cards. That's actually something I share with the students as well in my psychic class, to pull an oracle card daily just to see
Mhm.
what messages their guides have. So that's great information. So Jack, where can everybody find you? Has your program started? What is your membership about? Please share where everybody can find any information for you. Of course, we're going to have the links below so you'll have that, but I just so you can share.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you guys can find me on TikTok and YouTube. The Holistic Siren. Holistic is spelled with a W H, not just the H. And my website and all information will be down below, but it's stan.store/the Holistic Siren. My Safe to Be Seen program, it's really funny. I originally had the launch date as July 1, and it did launch on that day. But after talking with Spirit, I decided to open it for open enrollment. So you guys can enroll at any time. And I have live calls every week, and the coursework is self paced. So there's no rush, there's no pressure, and I'm there to support you once a week. The expansion room, which is my membership, that's all on my website. And that is really the foundational work, the introductory work that we do that kind of leads into the Safe to Be Seen program, expanding into your authentic self, into your purpose, into your healing abilities, because we all have them. And we have monthly calls there. And then I also have all the classes I've taught over the last 6 years in our community classroom there as well. So, giving as much support as I possibly can.
Yeah, that's all great. And I think so many people is going to benefit from that. So thank you so much for sharing. Again, we will have all the links below. Thank you, Jack, for joining me here today. This has been such an eye-opening, heartfelt reality check conversation, which I truly, truly appreciate. So all the information will be below. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank
And
you, guys.
until next time.